Steve.
We're joined now by Stephen Skultety. He's a professor of philosophy, chair of philosophy and religion at the University of Mississippi. He serves as the director of the not so long ago minted Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom. Professor Skultety, always good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, Gerard. It's great to see you again, too.
All right, so we've been in a bit of a whirlwind, a tsunami. Breakneck speed, I think, is the way some of the journalists like to describe what we have witnessed since Mr. Trump was inaugurated, I think exactly a month ago, if I'm not mistaken, was sworn into office. Can you think of another time in history where so much has occurred in such a compressed period of time after a president is inaugurated?
No, I haven't. It really has been something to behold. Although I will say, a lot of conservative intellectuals have been carefully planning for this moment, for the last 4 years. A part of it, of course, was in the press called the whatever it was, the Plan 2050, and got a lot of press for that. But in a serious way, there were a lot of very smart people thinking very carefully about what Trump would need to do to really turn the tide and make real progress. So it's exciting to see a lot of these things come to fruition that had already been planned for quite a while.
Yeah, the Project 2025, I think, is what you're referring to there.
Right.
Yeah, that from the Heritage Foundation. There does appear to be some of that stuff that's been brought forward, I guess it's fair to say. I do have some concerns, Professor, about the fact that it seems like we're more governed by executive order and the implementation of those orders down at the agency level, more than we are the 535 people we elect and send to the Congress.
Yeah, that's right. And while it is exciting to see Trump doing all these things, it is important to back out, take the longer perspective on this, and see that this is not the way a functional government should be behaving in the long term. As an immediate course correction, that's fine. But in terms of creating law that we all as a country can embrace for a long term, more needs to happen. But that's going to require sort of going back to an older tradition where Congress plays a larger role in governing instead of just turning all of our psychological attention to the president.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say that much of what the president has done, I certainly agree with, and most of it was unraveling, rescinding what the prior president had done, also through executive order.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And there is, a dynamic that got started a long time ago with the New Deal, and then developed into kind of a system of government where there really are 4 branches, where we have a kind of a permanent administrative state that works independently of the Congress and the president. And over time, that administrative state became so powerful that it did sort of achieve a kind of an escape velocity so that it kind of function on its own. So we do need to do more than just say, hey, let's go back to the older way of doing it, where we just have these 3 co-equal branches of government, because talking that way just ignores the fact that there's this giant elephant in the room that really is exercising real power and is positioning itself in light of everything that's done. So that's why it is chaotic and difficult to kind of predict how this is going to go down. But I think Trump is right in sensing that we can't just keep doing the old things, making the same old arguments, and just hoping something different is going to happen. The dynamic has to change.
Yeah, and you certainly have to applaud him for being someone who just doesn't speak about ideas and proposals and things he wants to do and offers an agenda. Man, he acts on it. Yeah. But I would say that's a function of his private sector business background.
Right. Now, as a philosopher, I do want to stick up for the idea of just talking about ideas that we don't end up implementing. But But that said, when someone is in a position of real power and leadership, um, you are expecting more than words, and rightfully so. It shouldn't just be a parlor game where everyone just sort of says some words and then nothing changes. We really do need things to change because the country is on a trajectory that just is unsustainable. Something has to give. We need change.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that much of what he has ordered really is a manifestation of what was signaled on Election Day. If you look at many of these issues,
Absolutely.
just simply that we shouldn't allow biological males to compete in female sporting competition, that polls way high. It pulls Democrats into it. It's not partisan. There's some things that are partisan. That's not, for example.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the pollsters and have shown that a lot of Trump's support right now is coming from disaffected Democrats in terms of the rating of how well he's doing so far as the president. Now, we'll see. Those things can change, but there are a lot of things he's trying to do that kind of cross over the traditional left-right distinction and really blur the lines and try to find a sort of new coalition.
Yeah. Tell us what's going on at the Declaration of Independence Center.
A lot. First of all, we're really making strides in terms of attracting students. When we first started out, we had 26 students sign up for our classes, and we had 7 Freedom Studies minors. Now we've got 135 students signed up for our classes, and we've got over 30 Freedom Studies minors. So we're headed in the right direction. It's always a matter of just we're building up our operations so that we can handle the demand as it increases. But our next big initiative is to really start advertising what we're doing in a bigger way so that just more people know about the Declaration of Independence Center and all of the opportunities we're providing for talented students.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. And I mean, it's unique in the nation, is it not, Professor?
Yeah, it is. Here's the way I would position it. On the one hand, the purpose of the center is fundamentally positive. I'm trying to add something to the University of Mississippi that students didn't have an opportunity to explore before. I want them to see that American freedom and the tradition of American liberty is something so interesting and exciting that it's worthy of study.
Sure.
Just like, other students might be interested in environmentalism and the environment. Well, students also could be excited to study the American environment of liberty. And I want to give them that opportunity. And I think that is unique because I think a lot of the other centers and programs in the United States, they tend to take the view more of, let's look at government or let's look at civics. And I'm for those too, but I want to make sure that students are focused on American liberty as part of that broader civics education. And I do think that's what makes us unique here.
I got it. Before we go here, are you aware of legislation being considered at the state capitol that would essentially abolish DEI programs and any form of DEI efforts? What do you think about that?
Oh, I'm watching those very, very closely. I think we definitely have to stop the kind of a set of requirements that were set up so that students had to be subject and faculty had to be subject to mandatory training and had to be looking at the world in a certain way and had to take the position in divisive debates. And so the thing I do approve of in these bills is that we just can't be indoctrinating people in that way. We need to return to an environment where things can be discussed, debated, and no one is sort of forced to toe a line in these difficult debates we're having as a country.
Yeah, it's an excellent response. Totally agree. And I've read the legislation. I've interviewed folks on both sides of this issue, and just makes common sense to me. We shouldn't be forcing any of that. We shouldn't be selecting our enrollment. Got about 30 seconds.
I think that's right. And, I think it's an exciting time in higher education because now we're returning to an environment where there's just going to be a lot of different things, and we can get back to debate, dialogue, and discussion, and the pursuit for knowledge.
Appreciate it, Professor. Always good talking to you. Thanks.
Great to see you, Gerard. Thank you.
We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.